Welcome into Training Camp Live, a Jets 360 production. Olivia Land is here on set with Eric Allen, and later on in the show, we'll hear from our very own Ethan Greenberg, who will be coming to us live from down on the field. Very exciting. This is the first time that the Jets training camp is commencing and in 2019. And guess what, EA? Football is finally back.
I can't believe it's here already, Liv. When you think about the Jets offseason, very busy, a new head coach, a new general manager, a lot of roster moves, and of course a new uniform. In fact, we just saw a shot of the practice field. The Jets are out here in new practice jerseys. So that slogan that the organization has taken this year really fits. Take flight.
A very busy offseason for the Jets, and now they're finally back in action. They're actually behind us on the practice field now. One person that you will not be seeing on the field today is defensive lineman Quinnen Williams. He was asked by media earlier in the week, and, you know, he said, I'm not worried about it. This is part of the draft process, so if we have any updates for you during the live show, we'll give those to you later.
Yeah, Adam Gase said, hey, listen, that happens from time to time with top 5 picks in the draft. Business is business. Steve McClendon was asked about it too, about Quinnen Williams. Dominant defensive lineman at Alabama, really broke out last season with the Jets drafted number 3 overall. And he said, hey, he's going to be just fine when he gets to camp. And Adam Gase said, we'll coach the players that are here. I don't anticipate Quinnen being out too long. And if we have any news to update you here live, we'll do just that.
Well, speaking of Adam Gase, let's dive right in. He's the new head coach for the Jets. This is his first year in the green and white. He was previously with the Miami Dolphins. And he's already said that there is a vibe inside this building that you can just feel not only with the coaches, but the players.
A lot of excitement, he said. A lot of juice right now, and everybody's really ready to go. He liked the way this team started out in the spring. He commented about their work ethic, the way they grinded, the way they got after things. Now, it's a different setup here in training camp, because in the spring, you're talking about OTAs and mini camps with no pads. On Saturday, the Jets will be in pads for the first time. But Adam Gase has been very impressive. And one of the things that's jumped out to me is that he has a lot of energy, a lot of passion. And I think this team is taking after its head coach right now in the early going. Remember, Adam Gase, first year on the job in Miami in 2016, he led the Dolphins to a 10-6 record, and they made the playoffs in year 1.
Something else that really stood out to me about Adam Gase was yesterday in his press conference. He came out and said, we will be playing meaningful games in both November and December. And I think that right there shows you the confidence that he not only has in his team, but himself as a head coach.
So what do you think about that, Liv? If you're asked that question, how are you supposed to answer? I mean, we see that throughout training camps in the National Football League. All 32 teams should be optimistic about their direction. But Gase said it at the owners' meetings. We were there in Arizona way back in March. He said, I like the talent on our roster. If we do stay healthy, I think we should be playing meaningful football late in the year. And again, he reiterated that yesterday by saying we should be in there in November and December. Listen, a lot of talent on this roster, a lot of newcomers, and I think there is a buzz here that hasn't been at One Jets Drive for quite some time.
Another new face in the building is General Manager Joe Douglas, who recently came from the Eagles. Something that has really stood out to me about Joe Douglas was actually his first press conference as the general manager of the New York Jets. And something he said is, I want to bring in players who almost hate losing as much as they love winning. So he's a people guy. He's all about the character of a player. But not only that, he just brings so much talent as an individual to this organization. Well,
he's had a fascinating career track. If you think back to 2000 when he broke into the league with the Baltimore Ravens, he won a championship with that club at 24 years old. What does Joe Douglas know? He knows how to win. You think about his pedigree. He's got 3 Super Bowl rings. He won 2 in Baltimore and 1 later with the Philadelphia Eagles. He worked his way up the ladder. This is a guy who used to spend 200 nights a year on the road as a college scout. Well respected throughout the NFL. I've been impressed not only by Joe, but the staff he surrounded himself with. He brings Rex Hogan back here to the Jets. He's the assistant general manager. He was with the Colts the last couple years. Chad Alexander was with Baltimore for 20 years, and he also hired Phil Savage as well. So I think Joe Douglas has done a fine job with the staff so far. Another thing that he was very clear about, Liv, was we are going to address this roster through every possible platform. We saw him make a waiver claim within hours of taking the position. So Douglas is going to continue to be busy with this roster. It's never going to be final.
And going off of talking about him getting players off the waiver wire, that's actually something he mentioned in his introductory press conference, how the Jets have the third spot in that waiver wire. And like you said, he's already started to make moves, specifically at tight end.
Yeah, Ryan Griffin comes in for the New York Jets now. He started his career in Houston. He automatically becomes the guy who has the most production in the National Football League in terms of that group. Obviously, Chris Herndon is going to be suspended for the first 4 games of the year. We'll have to see if there's an appeal process on that. Herndon, an awfully talented tight end who's got a good rapport with Sam Darnold. But when you think about that suspension, the Jets wanted to add to that group, and not only did they sign Ryan Griffin, but they also signed a gentleman who used to be known as Bucky Hodges, but our own Ethan Greenberg, I'm sure is going to touch upon that as well.
Let's actually now throw down to the field to our very own Ethan Greenberg. He's got a bigger update on the tight ends. Ethan, what you got?
Thanks, guys. Actually, the tight end's warming up right behind me. But real quick, on a side note, I do not see Brian Winters on the field, which is pretty big news considering his wife was expected to give birth to their baby son, Nash. So he's probably not here for that reason. But let's focus on the tight ends right here. Now, talk about Joe Douglas. He made a pair of tight end moves this week. Ryan Griffin added to the team. Same with Tamuch and Hodges. Now, you might know Hodges, formerly known as Bucky, he wants to go by his given name, and Tamuch. And of this bunch, Ryan Griffin definitely has the most experience. 77 games, 1,491 career yards. And this is a deep group, and these guys are fighting for a starting job because Chris Herndon is suspended for the first quarter of the regular season. Right there, Eric Tomlinson's taking reps along with Herndon, but this is a pretty deep group right now. Yesterday, Adam Gase said they're a little light, made a pair of moves, and I just want to hit on Dan Brown because this is someone that had an impressive spring. His background is as a receiver at James Madison, where he played collegiate ball. And tight ends coach John Dunn said, this guy's a jack of all trades. He has a very natural feel for the game and is nifty in the passing game. So we'll see how this plays out. Of course, pads are not on yet, so a lot still to be determined. But that's all we have here on the field. Let's send it back to Liv in EA.
Thanks again, Ethan. Again, the tight end position, obviously a position that head coach Adam Gase is going to have to be flexible with Chris Herndon out for the first 4 games. But let's continue talking about the offense. Quarterback Sam Darnold, EA, who is in his 2nd year as a pro. And you can already, even just through spring, see the jump that he's made, both mentally and physically, from that year 1 to year 2.
Entering his 2nd professional season, I think he's really embraced Adam Gase's coaching style. He's looking forward to working in this offense. One of the things these guys have stressed throughout the spring has been, hey, listen, Sam Darnold's been very good on 3rd down throughout his rookie season. Now what the Jets want to do is make sure he's effective on 1st and 2nd down. Sometimes if the play isn't there down the field, maybe take your underneath option. Pick up 5 yards, pick up 6 yards, and put your offense in favorable down and distance situations. But Darnold got this fan base excited, and also I think he made the rest of the National Football League take notice in December because he got hot. Listen, Liv, after that foot injury he suffered against Gase's Miami Dolphins,
yeah, he did.
He came back and he was a different player. He got a chance to observe Josh McCown, the way he ran the offense, the way he came out, and orchestrated practice, and Darnold was a different player down the stretch in December. He's a tremendous athlete. He can beat you inside the pocket, but he also has special feet. He can make plays on the move. He can pick up yards on the ground with his feet, and he has really special accuracy on the move.
Well, you can actually see number 14 there in the brand new Gotham green practice jerseys. But something that you mentioned I want to touch upon is how Darnold said he wants to improve on first and second down. And actually, if you watched our One Jets Drive, which aired Tuesday at 8 p.m., he did say that he learned from Josh McCown last year because Josh McCown was very efficient on first and second down. So he said that's an area he hopes to improve upon. But you also have to think that this is Sam Darnold's third offense in as many seasons.
Yeah, it is. And sometimes that's going to happen because you think about he was at USC, then he comes in and he's working under Jeremy Bates last season. And sometimes during the spring, the defense had the upper hand against the offense because not only was the offense and Sam Darnold learning their own installs and their own terminology, their own verbiage, they were going against Greg Williams every day, and Williams, he blitzes you when you're coming out of the locker room. So Sam Darnold's going to be better for that experience because anything that he sees out there on the practice field, he is going to see that on Sundays throughout the fall and the winter.
Let's now go back down onto the field. Ethan Greenberg, give us a little bit more update on Sam Darnold. Ethan?
You know, through all the moves that the Jets have made in the offseason, you can't look further than Sam Darnold because this, at the end of the day, is going to be his offense, his team. 22 years old, which is just crazy to think about. But a lot of excitement not only about this team, but Darnold's future in general. And you can't not be when you consider the year two jumps that a lot of quarterbacks around the league have made. You look back a couple of years ago, Carson Wentz of the Eagles, Jared Goff, Pat Mahomes last year. And yesterday, Sam Darnold talked about experience, how starting 13 games, hurting his foot, and then coming back really helped his growth. And you saw it in the final quarter of the season. I mean, it's well documented. Weeks 14 to 17, his play dramatically increased. He completed 64% of his passes, 931 yards, 6 touchdowns to just 1 interception. And in year two, for Sam, he's working on finding completions and really letting the game come to him. And I think that with an improved supporting cast, this team is poised to take a step forward. Now, how big that jump will be, I guess time will tell. A lot goes into training camp. A lot will go into health. A lot of cards have to be pulled, but a lot of excitement right now for the Jets. And if you're a Jets fan, you have to be excited about 14 and the rest of this team, but let's send it back up to the set.
Thanks again, Ethan. Man, I'm really loving those Gotham green practice uniforms. I think they look really crisp.
They're sharp. What do you think about the shorts?
The shorts, I didn't take too much notice in the shorts. I'll have to pay. You like the shorts or no?
They're interesting. I like the tops better.
Yeah, I really like the tops. That color, it's going to look fresh, especially under the lights. So, again, thanks for Ethan Greenberg to the Sam Darnold update. We talked a little bit about head coach Adam Gase. Now, something he has really emphasized is his relationship with Darnold, that he's really trying to make sure that he gets him and Darnold on the same page, because he said that's how you become successful as a quarterback and a head coach, when you have that bond.
Well, that's one of the reasons why Adam Gase is here. He said this is a very unique situation. He's coached different quarterbacks throughout his career, most notably, of course, Hall of Famer Peyton Manning. But he did some great things with Jay Cutler in Chicago. And then I go back to Miami. Ryan Tannehill was his quarterback in year one in 2016 with the Dolphins. That team won 10 games. And last year, the Dolphins were in the playoff conversation in December as well. When we think about Sam Darnold, though, I was very impressed by his maturity. This is a kid who's 22 years old, but he said yesterday when he was asked about playoffs, he said, yeah, we should be a playoff contender, but this team has to take it 1 week at a time, 1 day at a time. That sounds like a veteran quarterback to me, and he's got to be feeling a lot more comfortable than he did last year because there was so much new. He didn't really have a true professional offseason until now, and we've seen a lot of quarterbacks in the National Football League make jumps in year 2. The Goffs of the world, the Wentzes of the world, the Trubiskys. Can that happen with Sam Darnold here with the New York Jets?
Looking forward to seeing that jump in year 2 that Sam Darnold makes. So we mentioned earlier that the Jets had a very busy offseason, and that obviously includes free agency. Big ticket free agent that it was heard pretty much around the world. The Jets got one of the top, arguably one of the top running backs in the league in Le'Veon Bell. He is now in green and white right there. Look at him.
I would say not arguably. He is definitely one of the top running backs in football, and he comes to New York with a chip on his shoulder. Didn't play last year in Pittsburgh, didn't sign that franchise tag. He becomes a free agent. The Jets were aggressive, bringing 2-6 here. He only participated in 2 minicamp practices. He worked out away from the team, but when he was here, Adam Gase talked about this guy's football intelligence, how he sees the game. He really has a great mind for football, and this is one of the top offensive weapons in football. I don't like to call him a running back because Le'Veon Bell has averaged 126 yards from scrimmage per game over the course of 5 seasons with the Pittsburgh Steelers. And the last time we saw him play was 2017 with the Steelers. He had 85 receptions. He is going to make this offense look a lot different, not just because he can run the football, but Adam Gase has so many opportunities to move him around, and that's going to help dictate coverages and make things easier for Sam Darnold. And oh, by the way, when Sam Darnold, the play is breaking down around him, who better as an outlet than Le'Veon Bell?
So Bell is obviously going to be a very versatile offensive weapon for both Adam Gase and the offense as a whole. As a matter of fact, yesterday Sam Darnold was talking to the media, and they asked how valuable Le'Veon Bell can be to this offense and to a quarterback. And Sam Darnold actually said, listen, not only can we utilize him in the run game and the receiving game, but he can also be utilized as a decoy because there's a lot of other talent on that field. Yeah,
and Steve McClendon, something struck me that McClendon said yesterday. By the way, you should listen to McClendon's news conference.
Most inspirational thing you'll hear all week.
Motivation McClendon, or McClendon Motivation. Put a hashtag on that, baby. But he played with Le'Veon Bell in Pittsburgh, and so did Kelvin Beachum. And McClendon said, Le'Veon Bell is going to bring out the best in everybody. And Bell was clear about his comments in the spring, too, that I think I'm going to remind people, maybe they have forgotten who Le'Veon Bell is, but I'm about to remind them
gives me chills hearing that.
who he is. He has come to camp in unbelievable shape. Now, it's different being in good physical condition and good football shape, but Adam Gase will not wear him out during training camp, and I anticipate these guys finding the right balance.
Yeah, Adam Gase actually said in his press conference yesterday that don't expect Bell to leave this training camp with the most carries and the most touches he's ever had, because they do have to make sure and balance that and work him back in. But
how about this running back depth chart, though, Liv, when you think about
Let's dive into it.
Le'Veon Bell, Ty Montgomery,
which is another, running back who can also be utilized as a receiver.
Oh, sure. Yeah, you can be moved throughout your offensive formations. Bilal Powell. Eli McGuire's still here. You got Trenton Cannon. This is a deep backfield, and and Powell is the longest tenured Jet. Thinking about training camp, here's a guy who is here back for another year. Wow, it goes quickly, but the Jets got great value in that draft, finding Bilal Powell in the 4th round out of Louisville.
Let's move on to another big ticket free agent that the Jets signed this year. The quarterback of the defense, we all know who he is, C.J. Mosley, who actually, by the way, just made NFL's top 100 list for the the third time in a row, coming in at number 71.
Simply put, one of the finest inside linebackers in football. He will be the Mike linebacker, central command for the New York Jets in 5 seasons with the Baltimore Ravens, a 4-time Pro Bowler. And he's not just a run stuffer either. You think about, he had 15 takeaways between 2014 and 2018 with the Ravens. He is a quiet assassin. The Jets like the way they're set up from a leadership perspective on the defensive side of the ball. You got Jamal Adams, who is a star in the making in the secondary at the safety position, entering year 3. Now C.J. Mosley comes in, and he's going to be your Mike linebacker. And then you have Steve McClendon. And Leonard Williams, he's one of the older guys in the locker room by tenure, but not by age. He's still a young guy, and I expect big things out of Leonard Williams. But C.J. Mosley, wow, there's not enough you can say about this guy.
Yeah.
He was such a coveted free agent on the market. More than 10 teams were after his services. Adam Gase said, we need a culture changer.
Yeah.
Enter C.J. Mosley.
And another interesting thing that caught my eye about C.J. Mosley was when he was in discussions with head coach Adam Gase about coming to the New York Jets, he said, I need to know about that defensive line. I need to know about those guys up front. Are they going to protect me? Are they going to help me be able to do my job? And head coach Adam Gase said, you know what, listen, I'll worry about the offense and everything else. We just want to get you here. And he did it, so he's now here and here to make a difference. You know, like you said, he's the silent assassin. He leads by example kind of guy. That's the type of player that he is.
Yep, he certainly does. And I expect big things from Mosley in 2019.
Let's now go back down to the field. Ethan Greenberg is now joined by NFL.com's Judy Battista. Ethan, Judy, what do you got?
Thanks, Liv. Here on the field with NFL Network's Judy Battista. Judy, so many storylines entering this year's training camp. Which one piques your interest the most?
Well, it's probably the obvious one, certainly Sam Darnold's development and how he and Le'Veon Bell are going to work together and what the offense is going to look like with those two together. I mean, even just them, we've just seen here like a few handoff drills, and everybody's riveted to that. So I think that's the storyline that we're all interested in.
So a couple days ago, Adam Gase and Sam Darnold both expect this team to, 1, win a lot of games, 2, play meaningful football in November and December. What do you expect out of this Jets team in 2019?
Well, I think they're going to be markedly better than they were. The roster is much, much better than it was. I think they can be relevant late into the season. You know, playing important games November and December, maybe with a chance at a wild card spot.
So I just want to wrap things up. Let's talk about what needs to happen now and between November and December in order for this Jets team to take that leap that Sam, Adam, and many of these players are expecting.
Well, the offense has to come together, and Darnold referenced that yesterday. He says in this first week he wants to see, are they communicating? Are they on the same page? Is everybody where they need to be? Are they picking up the protections? I think that's going to be the big factor going into the season is the offense together and functioning at a high level.
Judy, thank you very much, and enjoy your time in Florham Park.
Pleasure. Thanks.
That was NFL.com's Judy Battista. Always good to hear from her. And, of course, our team reporter, Ethan Greenberg. You know Judy Battista quite well, right?
Well, we go way back.
Way back.
My first training camp with the New York Jets was 2001. And at that time, Liv.
Not to date you were in.
At that time, Judy was covering the New York Jets for the New York Times. Tremendous professional. It's great to see her out here and always be a part of Jets 360 Productions, because we see her occasionally at league events throughout the year. Most notably, I think most recently, the NFL owners meetings, but quality individual who knows the Jets and has covered the Jets firsthand.
Awesome. Awesome to get some input from her then. Now, we can't have a live show without mentioning Jamal Adams, one of the loudest guys on the field. You'll know whether he's there or not, but reported to training camp today, obviously, and he is just There's not enough to say about Jamal Adams, a guy who was a leader on the defense last year. He's heading into his third season, and he is a true professional. He is one of the best at his position in just 2 years in the league.
Yeah, you know, he got rewarded last year for his play. Despite the Jets' 4-12 record, he went to the Pro Bowl. And in fact, Jamal at the Pro Bowl was looking around at C.J. Mosley and said, "Hey, man, we could be something special if you come here." And Jamal talked about it in the spring that he'd like to have a similar relationship with C.J. Mosley here with the Jets that Ed Reed and Ray Lewis had in Baltimore. He wasn't comparing them as players, but he was talking about them, I think, as far as what they can do in terms of being a duo, leading a defense, and helping a team become a championship outfit. Jamal Adams is a great player, a fan favorite, a must-follow on social media. Greg Williams is going to love this guy because you can use his. He's another guy so versatile when you think about Jamal Adams. You can play him down in the box. He can cover deep. He is an effective blitzer. He is one of the best tacklers in the National Football League. The guy's an assassin out there. I think he gets Jets fans awfully pumped. And he plays the game the way it's meant to be played. He is a throwback player.
And something fans, I think, can really look forward to is this Jamal Adams and Greg Williams duo. Greg Williams, a ton of experience, obviously, as a defensive coordinator. And something everybody seems to talk a lot about is the energy he brings inside, not only the locker room, but on the field. You hear him at practice all the time, getting the guys pumped up. So I think that this duo can do some really special things on the Jets.
All right, One Jets Drive airs Tuesday night, 8 p.m. I'll give you a little preview here. I talked to Avery Williamson about Greg Williams while we were shooting for One Jets Drive, and he said he's crazy. And I said, crazy? He said crazy in a good way because he sets the tone for you in the meeting room. There are high expectations for this defense, and you saw that throughout the spring. These guys were running around with their hair on fire. Greg Williams is going to bring pressure against the opposing quarterback early and often. He is aggressive. In Cleveland last year, that defense he coordinated, second in the National Football League in terms of takeaways with 31. You start getting takeaway numbers like that, Adam Gase, Sam Darnold, Le'Veon Bell and company are going to have opportunities to score because they're going to get the ball in plus territory. So that's how this all works together. Greg Williams said, I have 42 packages of defense. Everybody's being caught up. 3-4 front, 3-4 front, 4-3 front. It doesn't matter. Now, because, you know, you go to Cleveland last year, I think they led the National Football League in terms of 3-4 reps. But this guy has so much in his arsenal, and he's going to take advantage of all the talent that is here.
There's a lot to look forward to. This has been Training Camp Live, a Jets 360 production. Listen, this is just the first of the start of the 2019 season. We've got 4 weeks of training camp, so there's a lot to look forward to. And this is the first of many live shows that we'll have. Our next live show will be this Monday, the exact same time, 8:40 a.m., so be sure to tune in to our Training Camp Live show. We're going to have some great coverage for you guys. Thanks for tuning in. For Eric Allen, I'm Olivia Landis.